The ground shook so hard that my teeth rattled, and I knew, right away, that something had found me. 8 years I had lived alone on this planet, and in all that time, nothing had ever made a sound like this. I dropped the water container I was holding and pressed myself flat against the canyon wall, my heart slamming against my ribs. Dust rained down from the cliff above me. Somewhere in the sky, a streak of white fire tore through the clouds, and I understood, with a jolt of fear and disbelief, that it was not a meteor, it was a ship. My name is Daniel Whitfield, and 8 years ago, the colony ship I was traveling on broke apart in orbit above this world. I still do not know why. One moment we were sleeping in stasis pods, dreaming of a green new home, and the next, alarms were screaming, and the entire hull was tearing itself apart around me. I woke up in an escape pod, alone, crashing into a canyon of red stone and silence. Everyone else was gone. No signals, no wreckage, no bodies, just me, and the wind, and 8 years of talking to myself so I would not forget the sound of a human voice. The ship in the sky came down fast, faster than anything I had ever built or repaired with my own hands. I ran, my boots slipping on loose gravel, and threw myself behind a boulder as a wave of heat rolled over the canyon. When I looked up again, the vessel had landed less than 200 meters from my camp. It was sleek, curved like a shell, glowing faintly along its edges with a soft blue light that pulsed like a heartbeat. I should have hidden. Every instinct told me to stay still, to wait, to watch. But 8 years of silence had worn something down inside me, some wall that used to separate caution from desperation. I stood up. I walked toward the ship, my hands shaking, my mouth dry, and I did not care anymore if what came out of it wanted to help me or end me. I just wanted it to be real. A door opened on the side of the ship, and light spilled out onto the rocks. 3 shapes stepped down, and my breath caught in my throat. They were tall, taller than me, with smooth, pale skin that seemed to catch the sunset and hold it, turning soft shades of gold and violet across their arms and faces. Their eyes were large and calm, glowing faintly like embers, and their hair moved like it was underwater, slow and silver, even though there was no breeze. They wore simple gray clothing that clung close to their bodies, and they moved together, almost like one creature split into 3. I froze. My hand went instinctively to the small metal tool at my belt, the closest thing I had to a weapon after 8 years of scavenging. But the 3 of them stopped walking the moment they saw me flinch. They did not come closer. They simply stood there, watching me with those glowing eyes, and I felt something strange wash over me, a pressure behind my eyes that was not quite pain and not quite comfort. Then, inside my head, a voice spoke, not out loud, not through the air. It was inside me, gentle and layered, like 3 voices speaking as one. "You are alone," the voice said. "You have been alone for a very long time." I nearly fell to my knees right there in the dirt. I had not heard another voice, human or otherwise, in 8 years, and now 3 strangers from another world had reached directly into my mind and found the one truth that mattered more than anything else about me. "I am Solene," the voice continued, "and this is Vale, and this is Ashra. We felt you before we saw you. Your mind called out to us across the stars, and we followed it here." I did not understand what that meant, not then. I only understood that I was shaking, and that tears were running down my face, and that I did not feel ashamed of it for the first time in years, because there was finally someone there to see it. They explained, slowly, patiently, using that strange shared voice that lived somewhere between speech and thought, that their people were called the Threnni, and that they were bonded in a way my species had no true word for. Sisters by blood, but bonded also by mind, feeling each other's pain and joy as if it were their own. Once in a great while, when a Threnni triad was ready, they searched the stars for a single soul strong enough to bond with all 3 of them at once. Not through language, not through choice made lightly, through something they called resonance, a matching of spirit that could not be faked or forced. We searched for a long time, Solene told me, walking closer now, her steps slow and careful, like she did not want to startle a wounded animal. Many minds we touched were too closed, too guarded, too broken to open to us. But yours held on. Even after 8 years of grief, your mind never stopped hoping. That is rare. That is precious. I laughed, a broken, disbelieving sound, because after 8 years of watching nothing but red rock and empty sky, I could not imagine what was hopeful about me at all. I told her that. I told her I had spent years talking to a dead radio, praying for a voice that never answered, and that hope had almost killed me more times than the planet itself had. Vale stepped forward then, and her voice slipped into my mind alongside her sister's, softer, almost sad. Hope that costs you pain is still hope, she said. We do not choose the ones who feel nothing. We choose the ones who kept feeling everything, even when it hurt. That night, they did not force anything on me. They set up near my camp, and Ashra, the quietest of the three, sat beside the small fire I had built from scrap wood and listened while I talked. I told her about the ship breaking apart. I told her about the names of the people I had lost, names I had not said out loud in years because there was no one left to say them to. She did not interrupt. She simply let the words come, and I felt, for the first time since the crash, like grief did not have to be carried alone. The next few days tested something in me that I did not expect. A native creature, long and armored, with claws built for tearing through rock, attacked our camp on the third night. It moved fast, faster than anything on this planet should have moved, and it went straight for Ashra, who had wandered too close to its den without realizing. I did not think. I grabbed a length of pipe I had sharpened years ago and threw myself between them, shouting, swinging, refusing to let it reach her. The creature clawed my arm open before Solene and Vale drove it back with a burst of light from a small device on Vale's wrist. But by then, it was already retreating, confused and wounded, back into the dark. I remember lying on the ground afterward, blood soaking through my sleeve, and Ashra kneeling beside me, her glowing eyes wide with something I can only describe as awe. "You did not hesitate," she said, her voice trembling inside my mind. "You did not know if you could win. You only knew you would not let me fall." That is when I understood what they had been searching for all along. Not strength, not perfection, just a heart willing to act even when it was afraid. On the 5th day, they told me the bond could not be forced, that it had to be chosen freely, by all 4 of us together, or not at all. They stood in a circle around me under the darkening sky, their markings glowing brighter now, pulsing in rhythm with each other, like 3 hearts beating as one. Solene took my uninjured hand. Vale rested her palm against my chest. Ashra pressed her forehead gently to mine. "If you choose this," Solene said, "you will never be alone again. Not for one more day of your life. Our minds will hold yours, and yours will hold ours, through every joy and every sorrow that comes." I thought about the 8 years behind me, the silence, the endless red horizon, the nights I had screamed into the wind just to hear something answer, even if it was only an echo. I thought about how close I had come, more than once, to giving up entirely, to letting the planet finally take what it had been trying to take since the day I crashed into it. And I thought about Ashra's eyes, wide with wonder, looking at me like I mattered. I said yes. The moment the bond completed, it did not feel like fire or lightning, the way I might have imagined it. It felt like coming inside from a cold night and feeling warmth spread through frozen hands for the first time. I felt them, all 3 of them, settle into some quiet space inside my mind, gentle and steady, like they had always belonged there. And for the first time in 8 years, when I looked up at the sky, I did not feel like the last living thing on this world. We left the wreckage of the colony ship behind 2 days later. I walked past the old escape pod one final time, The metal rusted and half buried in sand, and I did not feel sadness looking at it anymore. I felt something closer to peace. That pod had kept me alive long enough to be found. It had done its job. As the Threnny ship lifted off the ground and the red canyons shrank beneath us, Soline's voice whispered gently in my mind, warm and certain. 8 years of heartbreak led you here, she said. We do not regret a single moment of the search, because it led us to you. I looked out at the stars ahead of us, no longer empty, no longer silent, and for the first time since the crash that took everything from me, I felt something I had almost forgotten how to feel. I felt found.